I think we have to understand that the threats to freedom are not simply as a result of what happens in legislatures. Yes, you got to win those fights. The left is trying to impose its agenda through a wide range of arteries in our society, including corporate America. So we have fought against corporate wokeness. We are going all out against ESG, this environment, social governance. We've banned ESG in our pension investing. We're passing legislation to broaden that and to make sure that Floridians are not discriminated against by banks and other financial institutions because they own guns or they're a Christian or they're a conservative. Woke banking is using the financial might of Wall Street and some of these other entities and using that to try to impose an agenda on you which could never win at the ballot box. They're not accountable to anybody. They simply try to do this, and they try to say that they're for social justice. So we recognize that as a threat to freedom in the state of Florida. We also recognize a threat to government colluding with some of these folks. And one of the things we're going to ban in Florida this year is the idea of a central bank digital currency that they're trying to do. This is something where they want the Fed to control a digital dollar. And guess what will happen? They're going to try to impose an ESG agenda through that. You go and use too much gas, they're going to stop it. They're not going to honor the transaction because you've already bought more than what they think. You want to go buy a rifle, they're going to say, no, you have too many of those, you can't do it. So it's ceding the power of our financial freedom to a central bank, which does not have our interests at heart. So I think all states need to band together, need to say we're not doing this central bank digital currency, and we're going to let you be in charge of your own finances. But what we've seen, whether it's education, whether it's the bureaucracy, whether it's corporate America, is there is a left-wing agenda that is being imposed on our society. And in Florida, we've just said no. We said we recognize this as a threat across the board, and we pledge to fight the woke in the schools. We pledge to fight the woke in the corporations. We pledge to fight the woke in the halls of the legislature. Florida will never, ever surrender to the woke mob because our state is where woke goes to die. Now, we're proud of the stands we've taken. We're proud of the success Florida has. And one of the things I kept noticing during the last campaign were the vast majority of Floridians were really satisfied and happy with the trajectory of Florida, but they were very pessimistic about the trajectory of the United States of America. And why not? You look what's going on in D.C. You see Joe Biden, weak, floundering leader. He's controlled by the leftist elements of the Democratic Party. You look at what he's done. He has probably done as much as anybody, maybe Jerome Powell at the Fed, to unleash the worst inflation that this country has seen in over 40 years. This is making our country weaker. It's making our citizens poorer. And here's the problem. They've mismanaged this from the start. Massive trillions of dollars of fiscal stimulus, trillions of dollars of the Fed printing money. What do you think is going to happen? Of course you're going to end up having inflation. And so what they're trying to do, they tried to hike interest rates last year. They did that very rapidly, but that's created major problems. And so what do they do when you have problems at a bank in like Silicon Valley, which is basically doing very wealthy people and servicing that community? They make some mistakes. They are not in a good position. So the Fed, Treasury, FDIC, they bail out Silicon Valley Bank. Well, if there was a bank in this part of Pennsylvania that serviced like agriculture or small businesses, do you think that they would have been bailed out under similar circumstances? No. So what they're trying to do with their policies is make all of us deal with the harm, but the elites get insulated from their decisions. And so they've now pumped another $400 billion back into the economy. That is going to increase inflation. And so we've got some look, I'm happy with Florida's economy. We're clicking, but all these other things that are coming on the top with the inflation, the interest rates, and all the regulation, it's causing big problems. And I think, unfortunately, there's likely to be stormy days ahead. Part of the reason is Biden's waged war on our own domestic energy production. We have resources here in this country that we need to be using and using to the hilt. It's an issue of national security in addition to the economy. His fecklessness with the border, I think, has been an absolute disgrace. You have people that are dying by the tens of thousands in our country because of fentanyl overdose. You have criminal aliens that are pouring into the country. And forget about even the bad stuff, just the sheer number of having millions and millions of people that we don't know who these people are, dumped into communities all across America. What does that do for social services, education, criminal justice, all these things? It creates huge burdens, and he's basically just turned a blind eye to all of that. It's been a massive dereliction of duty. And of course, he sits atop an unaccountable administrative state. This is an administrative state that is not answering to the American public. They don't serve the interests of we, the American people. They loom over the people, and they impose their will on the people. You know, Ronald Reagan used to say the most frightening words in the English language were, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And when he said that, he was identifying the problems with kind of the Great Society run amok, some of the things that happened in the 60s and 70s. He was right about that. I think the difference between his time and our time is, yes, the bureaucracy still does all those things, but the bureaucracy has become weaponized against people that the elites don't like. You look to see the IRS targeting scandal that Keith and I fought against, where they were going after conservative groups.